highlight for me was being in a place that I had never been to and seeing how African art, which is something I'm so familiar with, be absorbed and seen and considered by a completely different audience that might have never been to Africa. But it was really interesting to experience people's curiosity about a place that I'm from, to ask questions, to engage with the conversations we were having. And I think it was also really incredible to see what an incredible place Artron is in terms of its publishing as a business and the books that it has produced.
There are two things I would like to highlight. One was it was really a beautiful time, a good time to be there with colleagues in the team of ARAK collection, as well as to meet people from Shenzhen, staff from Artron, and other creative players in the scene of contemporary art China. And two, I think the exhibition was important to be there so that people in China can see African art, contemporary African art, via the ARAK collection. I think that is important because I do think it is time to create these relations by engaging in African art which travel from different places around the world.
The fact that it took us approximately 7 to 8 months to prepare and plan for that particular exhibition. And it was quite a challenge, particularly people involved were from different countries, with Mr. Kalaifi and the actual artworks being based in Doha, and also having to deal with the venue owners, the Artron Group in Shenzhen, and myself being based in Singapore as well. However, all the Zoom meetings that we had pretty interesting in the sense that we could put our minds together and arrange for the exhibition to actually materialize. So it was actually quite heartening to know that after all the hard work and all the meetings that we've had, the exhibition opened successfully on the 29th of March 2025, and it was a feeling that all the hard work and time and effort put in was actually worthwhile.
So for me, the highlight of the opening weekend was really being in the space itself. Artron Art Gallery has such a rich history of bookmaking, art books in particular, and to be in that space and to exhibit the ARAK collection there was a real joy. I'm so familiar with the work through the physical collection itself, online, and also through the ARAK book, but to see it exhibited in such a beautiful space and engaged with by the public was a real joy.
I think the highlight for me was really even before the opening and the exhibition talks program taking place. It was in the process of installation, meeting all the different people, having that very one-on-one opportunity to understand the place before the major events took place. I really enjoyed that time, and I think a real big highlight for me was seeing the show up when all of the artworks arrived and having them installed and seeing them on the walls and seeing that come into fruition. It was really a proud moment. And again, the opening weekend was fantastic, meeting all these fantastic people from all walks of life and having them all in one space and being able to have a share in that energy and those interactions was really a memorable experience for me.
So it was a journey come true. We have only read about it in the perspective by ARAK collection in the African art book, but to see it firsthand, it was really a given, I would say.
The highlight of the exhibition for me was certainly just the phenomenon of having African art showcased so broadly, so deeply in the Chinese context. The fact that the actual institution was enormously prestigious was also very heartening. It is the greatest publishing center in China and also has an excellent housing for art. This inspired me because also seeing the Chinese community engaging in African art was immensely stimulating and comparatively unique for me.
I think the conference and the talks program helped the audience understand what the ambitions of the ARAK collection are, and I also think it allowed people to learn from us about what the issues of the art world are in Africa, in terms of collecting, in terms of the struggles that some artists face to produce work and the challenges. And I think that the panel conversations that were had with Chinese curators and cultural practitioners really showed us that essentially all art ecosystems have the same challenges in today's art world, and that there's so much that we can learn from one another.
The exhibition was a physical presence of African art in China, and the great thing about it was people were able to interact with the work by looking at it, and also the discussions provided the context and also opened up avenues and ways of engaging with the work. The walkabout, for example, by Ashraf Jamal also gave audience a sense of inroads and context and other aesthetic sensibility of the exhibition. So in that way, that has helped to deepen a sense of understanding. And the other thing perhaps we might also talk about, it was just great for the panel discussions, different panel discussion talking about different topics relating to the exhibition, relating to the collection, relating to the desired collaboration and exchanges that should take place between China and Africa. So I think those activities, in some way, they deepened a sense of knowledge, a sense of understanding of what the ARAK collection is trying to do, as well as we hope that they also establish future possibilities for future projects, so that the dialogue, collaboration, exchanges can continue. Lastly, I think that weekend, with all the activities, the exhibition, the talks, were a catalyst for future possibilities.
As part of the opening weekend for the perspectives from the ARAK collection exhibition in Shenzhen at Artron Art Center, there was a series of talks that were planned for the Saturday and the Sunday. And these talks were very well attended with a lot of interested parties, particularly from the institutions, the art fraternity in Shenzhen. The talks were interesting in the sense that the speakers were from the various countries in Africa, as well as art writers. And it was actually a great opportunity to share different opinions and also to help to bridge the arts and cultural divide between the African continent and China. As part of the exhibition, which runs for 3 months at Artron Art Center, a few other curator talks will be planned during the period of the exhibition. So look out for those talk programs as we roll them out. Thank you.
So what the Talks program did is draw out some of the key themes and conversations already happening in the exhibition itself, in certain artworks, and bring together critics, editors, curators, collectors, specialists in their field, and mount or stage rather these public conversations that allowed audiences to engage the exhibitions on a deeper level, and to really ultimately place the works themselves in conversation with the world and the general public. I think a highlight for me of the Talks program was also discussing the ARAK book with Sven Christian and Ashraf Jamal, and really allowing the book itself as the kind of debut publication of the collection to be celebrated in such a significant space, the Artron Gallery, which has such a rich history of bookmaking as well.
From my interactions with all the different people that we met during the course of the installation, through the Talks program, the audiences, there was a real welcoming approach to everything, from the speakers meeting each other from different countries, from the audiences arriving for the first time and seeing the work. And you could really feel the reactions, you could feel the enthusiasm, and you could feel the real positive energy, and I think that was something that continued on through the end. And I think based on the conversations that I personally had, and even the engagement in the Talks program, there was a real desire to learn from each other, and I think that was really important, being able to share the stories within the ARAK collection and opening up those conversations and finding those connections with China and Asia. And that for me was really exciting, and I think we all learned so much from one another.
With regard to the talks program, this dialogue between China and Africa is what was actually enormously stimulating. The Chinese contributors were very much engaged in the debate around globalization and the relationship between Chinese industry and culture on the African continent. There was also a sense of mutual reward that was promoted, the idea that Chinese civilization can gain from engaging with African civilization and vice versa. The overall mood here was so stimulating, so broad-minded, so fully engaging that I still remain entirely heartened and warmed by the event.
There were a number of different people who I spoke to over the course of the opening weekend, including one of the speakers, Mr. Wang Chunchen, who mentioned not having been exposed all that much to contemporary art from Africa. Most were familiar with cultural material objects from pre-colonial Africa, be it masks, basketry, weaving, textiles. And yeah, so I think this was an important stepping stone for the introduction of contemporary art from the continent, but at the same time, because of the scope and breadth of the exhibition and the variety of works on show, I think if anything it's helped to catalyze an understanding that there is an incredible range and richness and complexity far beyond the singular sort of understanding or picture that one might have from history books found in Europe and elsewhere around the world.
Well, to bring such a level of detail all the way from Qatar to Shenzhen, I believe it requires many professionals behind it. And here I would like to say a big thank you to Mr. Kwa Ing Kiat, the chief consultant of the ARAK collection, for putting this together with the rest of the team and making it successful. So thank you, and I invite everyone to witness the African art collection firsthand at Art Round at Shenzhen. Thank you.